We've got some big news coming out of the NFL. Las Vegas Raiders minority owner Tom Brady has reportedly met with Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford at his home in Montana. This report comes from Jordan Schultz, a well-respected insider, and it adds another twist to the Raiders quarterback situation. Earlier today, we heard a separate report from Diana Rossini, but this one is completely different. What's clear, though, is that the Raiders seem seriously interested in bringing in Stafford. And honestly, I love this idea. Stafford is a great fit for where the Raiders are right now, especially with their coaching staff. Now back to Jordan Schultz. He's proven to be a very reliable source in the past. Remember when there were mixed reports about Malcolm Kuntz's injury? Some said he had a broken leg and would return, but Schultz was the first to confirm that Kuntz had actually torn his ACL and was out for the season. He was right then. And now he's the one saying that Brady is actively trying to recruit Stafford to Las Vegas. Apparently, Stafford and Brady spent time together, even went skiing, and had ongoing discussions about the Raiders. But here's the thing. Several other teams are also interested in Stafford, so this could turn into a serious bidding war. If the Rams decide to trade Matthew Stafford, the Raiders are expected to be the most aggressive team in pursuit. About an hour after this news dropped, Ian Rappaport shared his own report. While Jordan Schultz was first to break the story, Rappaport added a different angle. He claimed that Stafford and Tom Brady simply ran into each other at a ski resort in Montana. According to his sources, the meeting was unplanned, brief, and did not involve any recruiting efforts by Brady. But Schultz wasn't buying it. He fired back, basically saying, "If you really believe Brady and Stafford just happened to run into each other in Montana at the exact same time, I've got a bridge to sell you." He doubled down, saying they spent the weekend together and that Brady has been leading the charge to bring Stafford to Las Vegas. Multiple teams are interested in Stafford, but Brady is pushing hard to make the Raiders his next destination, if the Rams are willing to trade him. Now, let's take a step back. The Rams have reportedly given Stafford permission to explore trade options. But are the Raiders even allowed to meet with him and start recruiting him? That part isn't entirely clear. One thing is clear, though. This isn't just some random rumor. If Tom Brady is actually hosting Stafford at his home, it means the Raiders are seriously interested. And if Brady is this involved, it's likely because team owner Mark Davis has given him the green light to go after Stafford. It looks like Pete Carroll and John Spytek may have given Tom Brady the green light to make a move on Matthew Stafford. At the NFL Combine, both Carroll and Spytek spoke to the media, and when asked about Brady, their answers were surprisingly different. Spytek took a neutral stance, saying that Brady is available and that the team can talk to him. But he never said Brady is actively involved in day-to-day operations or making major decisions. It almost felt like he was downplaying Brady's role. On the other hand, Pete Carroll made it sound like Brady is very involved. While he didn't say they're constantly in contact, he did suggest that Brady is always available and engaged with the team. These mixed messages make things even more interesting. If Brady is actively recruiting Stafford, it would likely have to come from Spytek's approval. This isn't something Brady would just do on his own without the Raiders being serious about it. At the end of the day, all signs point to one thing. The Raiders are genuinely interested in Matthew Stafford. This could be a game changer for the Raiders. Earlier today, Diana Rossini dropped an interesting report before any of the other reports surfaced. That tells me she's working with solid sources. She mentioned that Matthew Stafford has been testing the market for weeks, and two teams have shown serious interest, the Las Vegas Raiders and the New York Giants. Now let's break this down. When it comes to the NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans hold the number 1 pick, and they're almost certainly going to take Cam Ward. There's no way around that. The Cleveland Browns have the number 2 pick, but they're tied to Deshaun Watson, whose contract is fully guaranteed for at least a couple more years. So they probably won't draft a quarterback this year. That leaves the New York Giants at number 3. They'll have a shot at the second-best quarterback in this draft class. But here's the twist. They're still showing interest in Stafford. That's surprising, considering they could just draft a young quarterback. And then there's the Raiders. Yesterday, Pete Carroll made one thing clear. The Raiders are in win-now mode. They're not looking to rebuild. They want to win a Super Bowl as soon as possible. Some might say, aren't all teams always trying to win? Sure, but there's a big difference between a team slowly building for the future and one making aggressive moves to compete right now. And if the Raiders are truly in win-now mode, landing Matthew Stafford could be a huge step in that direction. Not every team is in win-now mode. Some teams take the long road. They rebuild, stack draft picks, and plan for success years down the line. Look at the Bears. They committed to a rebuild, and now they're in a great spot. The Panthers took a similar approach, and while their future is still uncertain, they showed promise toward the end of last season. Then there are teams like the Saints. Instead of going all in on a rebuild, they constantly retool, bringing in veteran quarterbacks, making small adjustments, and staying competitive. And then there's the Raiders. For years, the Raiders have needed a quarterback, but they haven't made that one big move. Instead, they've tried to build piece by piece, hoping to create a strong, well-rounded team before making that final push. But here's the problem. That approach hasn't really worked. When the Raiders draft solid players, like Malcolm Kuntz or Trevin Moehrig, they're valuable on rookie contracts. But once those contracts expire and they demand big paydays, it becomes much harder to keep a competitive roster. Think about it. In a few years, Jackson Powers-Johnson will be one of the highest-paid centers in the league. Brock Bowers will be among the highest-paid tight ends. Max Crosby is already on a huge contract. The window to win with these players before they break the bank is right now. The Raiders hold the 6th overall pick this year. That's another potential star to add immediately. If they want to compete, this is the moment to go all in. And let's not forget, the Raiders' coaching staff is stronger than it's been in 20 years. With Pete Carroll leading the defense, they finally have a chance to build something great. Now, the question is, will they take that leap? The Raiders don't just have Pete Carroll. They also have Patrick Graham, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. Graham is a hot commodity in the NFL. He runs an elite defensive scheme, and now, with Carroll leading the way, the Raiders have a rare combination. A head coach and defensive coordinator who both specialize in defense at a high level. That's not something you see often. But what makes this coaching staff even more unique? The offense. Chip Kelly is running the show on that side of the ball, and he's one of the most respected offensive minds in football. Think about his time with the Eagles. In 4 years, he led 2 top-5 offenses. The other 2 years? Still solid, ranking in the top 15. Then, at UCLA, he kept the offense competitive, ranking in the top 30 for points per game. And let's not forget Ohio State. In just 1 season there, his offense carried the team to a national championship. Kelly knows how to install an offense. That's a skill many play callers don't have. Some coaches struggle to implement their system when given the chance. Just look at Shane Waldron with the Bears or Luke Getsy with the Raiders. But Kelly? He's done it at every level. So the Raiders have the best coaching staff they've had in years. Now what do they do with it? They could wait, keep building, and hope things come together in a few seasons. Or they could go all in right now and chase a Super Bowl. Look at the Commanders. Just 3 years ago, they had the number 2nd overall pick. Then suddenly they were in the championship game. Or the Texans. Before drafting C.J. Stroud, they had barely seen the playoffs. Then, with one move, they went from the number 2 pick to back-to-back playoff appearances. The Raiders have the coaching staff, solid pieces in place, and 2 key draft picks. The number 6 and number 37 overall selections. Those picks could land immediate impact players. The opportunity is there. The only question is, will they take it? The Raiders have options. With the number 6 pick, they could land the best cornerback or wide receiver in the draft. Then, in the 2nd round, they could grab an elite interior lineman, whether it's a center, guard, or a dominant defensive tackle. This is how teams build winners. Look at history. 2 quality picks in the first 2 rounds can give you instant difference makers. And that's not even counting the 2 third-round selections. Smart general managers find starters in the 3rd round. You won't land a Max Crosby there, but you can find a player like DJ Glaze, someone who can step in, upgrade a position, and contribute right away. So, what's the move? The Raiders have a shot to go all in. Matthew Stafford is on the table. Pay him. Whatever it takes. $50 million per year? Doesn't matter. With a structured deal, they can spread the cap hit over multiple years. For 3 seasons, Stafford gives them a chance. In those 3 years, the Raiders could build an elite defensive line, especially if they bring back Malcolm Kunsey, which Pete Carroll has made a priority. Some may doubt this team, but they have the pieces to be legit. And let's not forget, Tom Brady is involved. Brady is recruiting quarterbacks. Today, it's Stafford. Tomorrow, could be someone else. Maybe a veteran. Maybe a draft pick. Either way, it's clear. The Raiders want experience under center. Stafford wouldn't just be a starter. He'd be a mentor. Aiden O'Connell, Carter Bradley, they'd learn from him, setting up the future while the team competes now. So what do you think? Should the Raiders push all in for a Super Bowl run? Drop a comment below, like, and subscribe. Big things are coming.